We'll call a meeting to order, the informational meeting for the town of Enosburgh for 2025.
To begin with, I'd just like to give everybody a quick overview of what we've kind of been looking at and working on for the past year with the town. So we've, thanks to the rec department, they've done a great job with a new playground and a new dog park, which was a lot of contribution from the public of our own community and others for both. And is it Katie Bennett? Kate Bennett had a lot to do with the dog park. She did a great job putting that all together. She's a kind of a junior member of the town, and she was really did a super job with it. Our ambulance has been running very smooth. We've gone from a struggle to keep people and have people and keep it staffed to running 2 units quite often, and we have very qualified employees that are probably some of the more qualified in the region, I would say. And our ambulance director is here. He's done a super job with us, Garrett. Thank you, Garrett. And the library is seeing more and more activity every year. Brenda does a great job with that. We really appreciate that. And Mark with the fire department, everything runs smooth. No complaints. We like that. Nothing burning up. So, but no, and we can't say enough about all our directors and leaders of the different areas. They all do a super job, and they make it a lot easier on us up here as a board. And Joey, I'm not sure, I don't see him here. He's probably out busy, which seemed to be the theme of the winter for him, but they've done a super job with the roads, I feel, and we need to be thankful of that. Some of the other projects we've been working on is the policing has been a struggle. We've been challenged with lack of support from other sources. So we have been investigating or looking into the idea of trying to get our own police department together, and we thought we had it pretty well set, and some of our supporting communities backed out on us, so we kind of had to step back and go back to the drawing board a little bit, but we're still hoping with the support of the taxpayers to get our own police department going within the next 6 months to a year, hopefully sooner. But, so that, and with our own police department, it would be smaller, but it would we would have control of them, and they would be able to have a little more unity with the community, and hopefully focus more on what we need and whatnot. And the state police have been great this past 6 to 8 months to a year, but I don't know how long they will be able to keep that up. And there's a lot of times that they're not able to be here. They can't be here all the time. So we're hoping to get our own going. It'll be a little bit of money, but I think once we're up and going, it won't be a lot more money, and it would be to contract with another agency like Franklin County Sheriff's Department or any of them. So their prices were going up in big steps. So, and we're hoping with everybody's support, we'll have that going. Yep. The town has received a grant to help with weatherization, ADA compliance, and heating and cooling of the municipal buildings, which will include this building, the Armory, Opera House, Library. Is that all of them?
Yep.
So that was a very nice grant, which will be helpful for all the buildings to cover some of the major needs they needed and save that from having to come out of the budgets. The Armory, we are still waiting to get in there. It's kind of been on a little bit of a standstill because we ran into some litigation troubles with our sand salt shed project, and we have materials in there from that project that are limited on what we can have for getting approval of that building for the fire safety because of some of the wooden materials and stuff we have in there. The litigation should be wrapped up shortly on the sand and salt shed, so we can move forward with getting the materials out of there. We haven't been able to do it because of the litigation. We couldn't do anything with them until we get that settled. So that's in the works, and hopefully getting within a month or so, we should be finalizing that. And then after that, it's probably maybe a few months of work to get a few minor things done with the Armory before we could hopefully be in there, which would be great.
The vault's all set.
Yeah.
Vault's all set, right?
Yeah. So, sure there's a few things I missed, but hope everybody up here on the select board has been great to work with, and they definitely all have all your interests in mind as they're working through all these projects and budgets and everything to make sure everything's not only feasible, but in the best benefit to everybody. Anything anybody wants to add?
Skate rink, Dave.
Yeah, David has done a great job with the skating rink again this year. We really appreciate that. It's been nice to see that come back to life over the last few years. It always used to be a thing in Enosburgh, and it seems like it's done well again. Yes, David.
I just want to say that since about January, I've been kind of missing. And I want to give a lot of credit to Brian and his wife for taking care of the rink. And also a fellow named Kevin.
Who's speaking?
Lagas.
Grassi.
Kevin Grassi. They've been,
Heather, is there, he's David speaking, I'm sorry. Is there a Wi-Fi for phones in this building?
there is, I think it's, what is it, big truck?
Do you know if there is? Does anyone
You
know
know
if
what
there
Wi-Fi
is?
is? Big trucks?
All one word.
Anyway, they've done a great job.
Yeah.
They are
Thank you to them.
We just put the pavement on hold because of the sidewalk.
And we were hoping to have these parking lots paved here, but we put them on hold until the sidewalks are finalized, so we didn't have to redo things twice. There's sidewalks, the village is working on sidewalks to have access to the recreational fields. So, all right.
very good. So is there any objection to non-residents speaking this evening? The director of our ambulance service is a non-resident in Enosburgh. Is there any objection to him speaking if he's asked a question this evening?
No.
All right, very good. That's all I need. So anyone with questions, please come up to the microphone because we are being televised by Northwest this evening, and it will be much clearer to folks that are watching this proceeding at televised or recorded to be speaking at the microphone. And then also, if you have a question, raise your hand and we will recognize you. Come to the mic and ask a question or comments or whatever you have this evening. And we would ask that you limit it to 5 minutes. So, anyone with a question this evening of the select board? Shauna, if you could please step to the mic, please.
We're gonna do the general fund first and then take a separate.
So my question, I guess my first question is, I know there's 2 people, well, Pierre's running, I think Nick Aldridge is running, and then another person running against.
Dan Steiner.
Are they here? I just was curious. Oh, my name is Shauna Lovelat.
Well, we
on.
don't, we're not hearing a microphone. We're not, it's not for our advantage, it's for the advantage of people who are.
For the TV audience.
Exactly. Yes.
So my question was, since I've lived here, I was always under the assumption that the select board had a village representative, that at least one member was a village resident, and I thought Pierre had always filled that spot. That was just my assumption, I wasn't sure, and so I was reading the Messenger and saw that the person running against Pierre specifically is not a village resident, and so I was just curious about that, and one, if there is not anything set in stone relative to that. As a village resident, I feel it's really important to have representation, so if there's not something set in stone, what the process would be to make that happen, maybe for next term.
So to answer that, Shauna, we looked into that and we could not find it anywhere in the bylaws or anything. I think when the board went from 3 to 5, I would have to talk to some of the old members, but it sounds like it was just a gentleman's agreement that there'd always be a village person on, but I can't speak for all the board members, but I think we all feel it would be important to have a village representative up here, so it is probably something we need to, if we maybe look into it, and if we can't find it anywhere, then maybe definitely see what we need to do to get it that way.
Is that a bylaw change? Like, are there bylaws that would have to be adopted into?
That's a good
Not that I've
question.
seen.
Okay.
Somebody told me that, I believe it could not change. Any village board town member could be on the board, and that there wasn't a limit. But I don't know where they got that from.
You, in the Title 17, I think it was 25, 20, I looked today, and it was easy enough to go from a 3 to a 5, and that's kind of when what you're talking about happened. Before that, it was just townspeople on board. And then they added the 2 people, and then slowly over time, I think you've always seen at least 1 or 2 people from the village be on. But I couldn't find any notations. I think it might have been just a conversation somebody had, and that's a decision they had, but it was never put to paper. But you're right, it could be in the bylaws, but the bylaws that we see are more for zoning. We don't have a set of bylaws that govern the board.
I agree, it should be a representative, but he's been predating everybody on this board, so we've never had that question before. It's been basically run unopposed almost every time, so it's good to know going ahead if if the public wants us to do something like that for representative, we need to get it in our language in our charter.
So that's my question. So it would just be a process of bringing that to the board making that motion and voting on it?
Well, I would ask the attorney first before we did anything, so it's done.
Okay. And my other question was, are the people running here? I don't necessarily know
I didn't see
everybody.
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Shauna.
David?
This is, it's going to be really quick. I'd like to go back to the policing.
Yes.
David Trihorn, Enosburgh Town. Go back to the policing subject.
Speak loud enough, David, so we can hear you.
Okay.
This is not a real mic. And he's facing the back of us.
Would it
Forgot
be
what I was
better,
gonna say now.
would it be better if you're facing them?
Well, we don't have to see David. We know what, you can turn around to speak to you. Just turn the mic around.
Turn it this way, so he
Put
faces,
the mic over by Jess. And David face, the people face this way, then they're facing the camera and they're facing.
Here we go.
they're testing your recovery, Dave.
I have five. No, no. Okay. Well, I wonder if you could expand on the policing situation a little bit. Like, for instance, is now, the way it is right now, is Enosburgh Town going to go it by ourselves?
So, right now, we do not have a solid commitment from any other communities. We've had interest from a couple, but it would be, they're looking at more part-time than what we were, the one we were, it was kind of going to be a two-town thing, which would have split quite evenly, but they kind of backed out for the time being. I don't know if it'll change. If we get a police force up and going, they might still join. But for this, right now, it would be our own, and we might be able to hire out, contract out to a few towns. I know Bakersfield has shown some interest in Sheldon, but.
Yeah. And from a housing point of view, where would the police department be?
Housed, there is room at the Armory. It's kind of where we're leaning at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I notice your 2025 budget has got like $300,000
Yeah.
for policing. And I would,
Keep in mind, we're already gonna be part ways through the year, so it isn't, the ask is gonna be bigger next year, more likely,
yeah,
if it started.
yeah.
And this would be a hard year because there's some startup costs with equipment and cruisers and whatever.
For sure.
Which don't all have to be completely paid for this year. They can be spread out over a little bit, but there is some startup costs. Yeah.
David, ask about personnel. How many people?
Yeah, so how many people are you looking at?
It's a good question. At least two to three to begin with. Depends how much we could get other contract work or whatever. It's hard to have just, it's hard to have just one because you need backup. So, support, whatever. It would be nice to be able to have three. I mean, realistically, we aren't gonna be able to have 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week coverage. It's just not feasible, but if we could have closer to it than we have had, would be great.
I think it'd be great to get started.
Yeah.
Even
Just start somewhere and
get
see where we
started.
can go.
Go for it.
And I might just add, just to make a comparison, the Franklin County Sheriff contract, the new one that they proposed was over 200,000 for 40 hours.
Yeah.
And that's why, going forward, that keeps escalating every year, and we just need to be able to keep this in-house. The startup's gonna be hard, and it's gonna be expensive up front, but I think it's gonna be great for everybody going down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
personally.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Jamie?
My name is Jamie LaSalle. I'm an Enosburgh resident. I'm curious, Burlington seems to be, sticking with the police question, Burlington seems to be having trouble hiring people, and I assume that they're richer than we are. Are we going to be able to find personnel?
So we're hopeful that we got a small rural community that we may be able to attract some of the people that maybe don't want to be in the cities so much on some of them forces is kind of what we're hopeful of. But we also realize we gotta pay the right price to make it attractive for them and maybe to draw some good people. It may cost more than it seems like it should, but it's kind of it's worked well with the ambulance crew where we hire good people and they do good things, and it just keeps growing that way, and we're hoping we can do this similar with the police force. We just need to multiply Garrett, so we got a net leader for the police force.
Hey, Heather Moore, village resident. Just sticking on the police, another follow-up question. So it's $300,000 in the budget this year, so that's looking at the money would be going towards contracting out as we're currently doing, correct? And then some money towards the creation of the new force. Is that correct? Am I understanding that?
We have no contract right now with Franklin County. We never were able to come to agreement to redo that contract. So right now we have no contract with them.
Okay, and so we're not using that money for anything right now?
No.
Okay, so the money, sorry about that. This money would then be held in an account for when the startup begins?
Yeah, it's
What do you call
Well,
us?
we're hoping to start using it right away by
Yeah.
the cruiser and the equipment that the person would need and office things and
Probably a manager,
dispatch is
right,
very
to start.
expensive. Do you remember how much it was, Dean? You and Jesse went over the dispatch costs.
the dispatch was kind of ridiculous. I think it was 90,000 just for dispatching, which, I don't know,
That's extreme.
yeah, so.
But that's not even including, if you put the fire station and stuff together, it's like 130?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just the dispatchers,
Dispatch.
it's just the police, so that's one of the stickers to it.
Right. Do we have an idea of what the, after the startup is, that's its own expense, what's the maintenance costs that we would be looking for, say, for next fiscal year or moving forward?
That's kind of a tough question because it depends on how many people we hire and the equipment that they might need.
Do you have an idea of what a salaried employee would cost?
Some of the numbers we hear by the time you get on with benefits and everything, a lot of them are talking 100,000 by the time between salary, benefits, there's some equipment to get them started and going. It's pretty close, ends up being pretty close to 100,000 a person to get somebody going.
So
That's every year.
So, and that's just for
It would be
staff.
pretty close. There might be a few equipment things you
Yeah,
might
you
not
want
have
to
to
buy
do.
equipment again.
But it'd be close. Time you put insurances and everything else and
Medical?
I bet she'd be hard pressed to do it for 100 employees.
so, yeah.
That's why I'm saying that we're looking at 300 this year, but this is just part of a year. If it's in effect starting at the beginning of next year, just the labor itself is going to be this number. So you're going to have more above that.
And have there been any more talks with area, other police departments in the area about like supporting them in their growth, so we wouldn't have to have all of the operational expenses ourselves?
I
Like
mean, like St. Albans City?
St. Albans City, Swanton, because I know that they're not, staffed enough to be able to expand contracts right
Right.
now, but I was wondering if there were conversations about supporting them to expand more staff so that we can contract with them rather than having all of the expenses on our own community.
Well, we had tried with Swanton, and they
Yeah.
weren't in a position to do anything with us.
We haven't reached out in the last few months, but we had been trying on a regular basis. Yeah,
We tried St. Albans, Roger, over in Morrisville.
yeah. We've been
Shout out to Lamoille County.
Lamoille.
They just, every policing situation or contract they have, they're manned up for their communities. And to get the access on that, it's all about manpower. There's just not enough of it in the whole state. We all know that.
Just a quick statement, I just want to say that I really value the time that's put into looking into trying to solve this conundrum that we're in. I know it's really complicated and not an easy answer, so thank you.
One thing on the police, while we're talking about it, whenever you guys see your legislative people, don't be afraid to hammer on them about this, because they haven't done any of us any favors over the last few years between allowing our Franklin County's Sheriff's Office to get to this point, and also their judicial boards, just the way they're dealing with people, making it very hard on the law enforcement people out there. So them are people we all gotta lean on to get them to change some of their policies in the state a little bit to make it better for everybody too.
Is Penny DeMar here tonight?
No.
I'd like to just make a quick point on that too, because we did have them here at one of the discussions with legislators. And I have a daughter and kids that live in New Hampshire, in Dunbarton, New Hampshire, community about this size. And they've got three police cars. The next town has police cars. The next town has police cars. So what is New Hampshire legislation doing for their residents compared to what is Vermont legislation? Because if the sheriff isn't the answer, these small policing things are, but they seem to be able to do it over in the state of New Hampshire. It should be similar to Vermont. So what are they doing different? And
They're living free and dying.
Patrick?
Ward.
Yes, Ward, go.
A while back, we had a very informative meeting here about the security issues in town. And I feel comfortable that, of the need, which I wasn't that clear until I came to that meeting. But I'm disappointed that we as a community in processes like this, you don't seek some of us to participate with you. I mean, if a group of volunteers sat around, there are people like me and other retirees who might be willing to dig into the New Hampshire stuff. But I feel almost completely lacking in any information beyond that meeting with respect to the.
The Susie Hall parent and,
Yeah, and I'm particularly bothered that, as far as I know, there has never been a community discussion on what to do with the armory. I want you to take me over there once, and I had to look around, but there was no conversation in the community about how this building is going to be run, and we're going to have to finance both getting it going, I would expect, and what the added costs that are going to come to the community. And we, as far as I know, there's been no opportunity to give input on that for the edification in the planning that you do. So that's an area that has bothered me for quite a while. Not that we make the decision. The other area where I think there is a better chance to make a decision is if we had the kind of town meetings we used to have. And I understand that's still legal, where you can vote, you can make changes to the budget at the town meeting. I think this presentation, an event like this is informative, but what can you do between now and next Tuesday that, with input that we might give you tonight on how to do stuff? So whether to spend more or not. So I'm disappointed the town has that situation, and I'm equally disappointed with the failure about getting notification of the town report and the budget being available. And Cheryl found an article, I think Fairfax, they voted that the select board is required to send a postcard to every household that they're now available. I thought it was kind of silly when we were mailing them, so we should have done something else. But at that time, again, there was no conversation with the community about how we can make a saving of this much if we do something else. What should we do? How would we do it? What's it going to cost? And so I'm disappointed that not only can I not go on voting day and raise something that gets discussed and then added to the next year's plan, I'm disappointed that we aren't involved beforehand, and that would probably increase voter participation. I don't know if any of you remember, but I think it was 2 years ago, Cheryl and I were the only voters who showed up at this meeting, at this information meeting.
Oh, you were there, remember we had.
That was the school meeting.
No, that was the school meeting.
Okay.
I don't know, we probably missed.
My memory is gone.
That was the school meeting.
I strongly encourage you to create more involvement from us and with invitations and information in a timely manner so that we can participate, and hopefully that would even lighten your burdens. Okay.
I think the postcard is a good idea, Ward, of maybe just that way everybody knows when we're having it and where it is and whatever. That's probably a good note to.
And then you could pick them up at the town clerk's office.
Right. Yeah.
Well, for the town, I'm gonna
And-
say something. I'm sorry. This is, I do things somewhat impulsively, but it's in my heart. My name is Cheryl Henneveld. I've now been a resident of Enosburgh for over 50 years.
I didn't introduce myself. I'm Cheryl's husband.
That's Ward Henneveld. I don't know, it seems like COVID messed up a lot of things for a lot of people in different ways. And it seems like somehow we were having these wonderful meetings with soup, town meetings where we shared, we got to meet our neighbors, we actually got the names of all the people who were select board members, and that's something else. There's some group dynamics. Maybe we need to hire a group dynamics person to help us introduce and connect, because that's what the tradition I know, even though I'm from California. I honor Vermont's tradition of town meeting and the real meaning of town meeting. It's old-fashioned, maybe it's nostalgic, but I really, Steve Bowl wrote a wonderful, posted a letter on the Front Porch Forum, and you have to pardon me because I'm 80 and it's harder to bring up all the words that I want to say. Without a town meeting, there is zero opportunity for Enosburgh residents, it makes me cry, to propose, discuss, and vote on resolutions not listed in the warning, nor is there any opportunity to adjust the language of the resolutions or budget amounts that are published in the warning. It's true that 10 is not a good time and there was low attendance, and maybe we can think about another time. But as presented as a convenience, and I think we lost it, and some people didn't know when they voted whatever they voted last year or the year before, that we were not going to ever meet again in the school auditorium and have the wonderful exchanges that we had. Although presented as a convenience, loss of town meeting is a loss of local community participation and control of our local governments. And I also honor all the work you do. You're doing so much work. But as Ward said, if we got more people together, maybe there even could be a lightening of some of the burdens, and we could do research for you, or we could figure out. For instance, this thing of the police department, I never heard about until I picked up my book on Monday, which is when they were available, although we didn't know they were available until I dropped by or something to see that they were available, because it wasn't on Front Porch Forum. Anyway, I picked it up, and then that's the first time I read about the police problem. Now, I know we had a meeting, I think it was 2 years ago, the one with Susie Hull Parent and Liz, that wonderful Liz, who was the mayor once of St. Albans. I forget her last name. Gamache. She also is very good at group dynamics and organizing things. Anyway, they had this great meeting. We had officers, and they spoke about the problems, and it was really an important meeting. We didn't ever have follow-ups, but I think we need another town meeting to talk about the police issue. Okay, thank you.
So to follow up on discussions, board's questions on the armory, you guys have pretty good representation on the board that up here for everybody that's looking at it, and all the rec department, everybody has had their thoughts on what they can be helpful for them and stuff. Yeah, it'd be nice to open it up to all the community members, but I bet every one of you has a different opinion on here on what we should do with it, so it'd make it hard to get anywheres on that. On the Old Town meetings, we're trying to do the best we can to trying different times and get people here and have it more of a social gathering. We kind of left it up to the voters on what they preferred, and they voted to be able to have it voted Australian ballot, which gives more people a say on the budgets and everything. And I mean, if it's way out of whack and stuff they don't like, you know, you just got to vote it down, and we go back to the drawing board. So.
How many signatures are required for that petition?
Petition for what, Susie?
To bring it back on the ballot, so it could be revoted.
It's probably a percentage of the voters.
It is. I think it's 10%, but I would have to look at it.
Some of the pushback that we're getting from the people that didn't want to do Australian is when changes are made, you got maybe 40 people at town meeting and they change the budget, they never get an opportunity to vote on that change on that budget. That's the big thing. Because they all of a sudden they're taking out of participation because they can't make it a town meeting. And that's why, now we suggested before it got changed to Australian, maybe we did a Saturday meeting or a different date, night meeting or something, and we never got that opportunity. COVID kind of took things away from us. I feel that was unfortunate.
With all respect though, having it this way, nobody has any say on anything that's being put in the budget. Yeah, it's Saturday.
Well, you look at the school budget last year, I got turned down 2 times. That would say.
No, I mean, to like propose a resolution or amend what is going to be put on the budget as it is now, the only ones who have that ability are you guys. Wherein in a town meeting, in discussion, something could be done up. Somebody might even propose to up the budget for something that you guys want to get done, but you feel reluctant to put in there. But in a traditional town meeting, an amendment can be made from the floor. And right now, you say that those people that can't make that meeting don't get a chance to talk about a change, but right now, nobody gets a choice to talk about a change, is what I'm saying.
Actually, you do get a chance to make all of these changes. We meet twice a month, excuse me,
That's great.
twice
Here,
in a month, that you're able to come in and have discussions with us. So.
That does not replace a town meeting.
It doesn't replace a town meeting, no, but in wanting to make changes, you're able to come in and visit with us. I mean, we have an open door policy.
Yeah.
And at the same time, even though all you folks are sitting right here, just to give you a small heads up, we do have food out in the back. There's pizza, and so it's like, it's getting cold. But there is that opportunity. And just remember, if you're going to speak, to come up to the mic, please.
Susie, what you said was important, Susie. Will you come to the mic and say it?
I feel like Mary said it.
Okay, then you
But-
have to say it. That
but that's-
was on parents.
That's, your alternative is to put it back to the vote, to get it back the other way.
Yeah.
And we said that last year.
Come in and talk
And
about
we're
it.
just the board.
Yeah.
If it's petitioned properly and we'll put it in front of the
Okay.
public.
Who would like to go first?
Go ahead, Jamie, you're closer.
Jamie LaSalle. I want to speak in favor of having a town meeting too. I went to my first town meeting, Southern Vermont, and it was the beginning of my education about democracy. And I think it's a very important lesson to learn, especially when you're sitting in a meeting and you get beat. Because you realize that you're dealing with your neighbors and they don't want to plow your road, or you're going to walk that winter. But it's a good lesson to learn, and it's a good lesson to learn how to negotiate with your neighbors. I spent at least 30 years in a small Maine town, and whenever I went anywhere else, I couldn't even, there was a city hall or a town hall, but you could never find anybody there when you needed them. There was no way to interact with your government. And having town meeting, you get to know everybody, you get to know what their prejudices are, what their positive points are, and to me, it's school for democracy. And if we don't have it, we're cutting our own throats. So I'm in favor of having a town meeting.
My name is Ellen Stanley. Can we go back to the armory? I am remembering it feels like we've been talking about this for a really long time. I'm having some kind of memory of concern about insuring it and how many people were going to be allowed in it, because we couldn't allow the public in because the insurance something. What am I, does anyone remember anything about that? Have we moved anywhere on insuring the armory as far as like having literal rec events in there with the public, or is that not going to be allowed?
So it wasn't, Ellen, it wasn't an insuring issue.
Okay.
It was a sprinkler issue.
Okay.
And to give you a little bit of background of why, and to kind of go off on what Dean explained earlier about why we can't move forward. Again, a separate project, the salt and sand shed, that part of that building is being stored in there. With that being said, in order for the state to issue us a CO, that material would have to be removed, because for another problem, the state wanted us to sprinkler that building because of its size, occupancy, what the use was going to be. We were able to get a variance issued from the state, from the fire marshal's office, to negate those sprinklers. Not that we don't ever want to put sprinklers in that building, but it's going to be such a huge cost, because the infrastructure that the village has outside of that street isn't adequate enough to sprinkler. You have to have 6-inch mains. We only have a 4-inch main there. So it was going to be a lot of tanks, and it was going to be a lot of money. So we went for the variance, got the variance issued. By having that variance with having that material in there, the folks at Fire Safety had said, listen, you guys can't even have posters on the walls. You can't, because if you're not going to sprinkler it, we'll get you in here, we can get you a CEO. But if you have any of this, goofy stuff in here, we can't allow you to issue that CO. So that was a conversation that was had. So when the salt and sand shed had stopped, we needed a place to put that building. That's where that building went, and that's where the pause had happened. So that's where we are right now, as far as it can be insured, it can be everything there. It's just the sprinkler, not having that sprinkler is why we have to pause. It's a lot of moving cogs in this situation, unfortunately, so if that makes sense, Ellen. So.
Yes, so let's pretend the salt shed is gone, fixed.
Yeah.
There's still the limitations of the sprinkler, no matter, that is a whole separate tab.
Right, that's a whole separate
Okay.
tab. The state, it recognized that they wanted us to get us in there. They know that it's been a long and winding road, and they wanted to issue the CO for us when we get there, with the thought that someday we will sprinkler that building, because the state really wants to sprinkler, this building is another one that's gonna be a point of contention. So that's the unfortunate part, but they want to get us in there. So once we do, we get everything, a couple months, we have some wiring, we have some, some soft surfaces, nothing too wild in there. Once we get in there, then they will work with us to have events, going forward.
Okay, but there will be a limit of how many humans can be in there at once?
Nothing that
Okay.
would be, nothing that would bother us.
Okay.
They just don't want, concerts in there and weddings and,
Okay.
large, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And is there, sorry, I'm not at the microphone, can you hear me? I'm really loud. Let teachers, did you make a 2-level, like there's an office, no, everything's gonna be on 1 level, there's no going up? There's
It's
no
just a very
stairs?
tall room,
It's just a,
like a
Okay.
gymnasium.
I feel like I saw a plan at some point where there was gonna be 2 sets of, no?
No.
Okay.
There was rumbles as a
Okay.
discussion for a while that someone had thrown around the idea of a split level, but nothing that the board had ever talked about or was serious about.
Okay, but everyone is happy with fitting the humans that need to fit in there, will all fit how you want
What's the number? What's the number?
What number?
What number?
of offices.
For the people?
Oh, I'd have to go back and figure out, I'd have
They
to,
wanted less than 200.
I think it was less than 199 is what the number was. I'd have to,
So it shouldn't
yeah,
matter.
That just clears it up.
yeah. Yeah.
It was a big number for any event that we
Yeah.
I can be loud too.
Well, yeah, if you-
No.
Just say your name, you hear me?
The mic.
You can hear me.
You have to say
Okay,
your name.
She can hear me, right?
Yeah, okay.
The camera can hear me. So, just to go back. Susie Hall Susie Hall Cassinger. Going back to that, I get the feeling that, these conversations around town meeting and the armory and whatever kind of get your back up, kind of make you feel a little defensive. And I don't think that's the intention. I think the origin and the history of a town meeting, community meetings where we talk about the armory and other big things. Other towns have done that type of thing versus just having it an item on your regular meeting. I try to come to quite a few meetings, and I'm always surprised sometimes where the conversation goes. You try to stick to the agenda, but sometimes there's something there or not. And to ask your townspeople to try to make sure, particularly when you're building budget and you're meeting every week, and you guys are volunteering, and you are volunteering a lot. I've sat on that side of the table and other things. It's a lot of hours, it's a lot of headache, it's a lot of struggle. And then you have a meeting and people come in and they start picking parts that you guys have discussed till all hours of the night, and I know it's aggravating. But I think you need to be encouraged that your community wants to be involved, that we still have in Enosburgh a community that wants to be involved. That's a positive thing. That was a wonderful thing for Vermont to be able to say we had these town meetings where you could have democracy on the floor. And sometimes it doesn't go the way the board had intended. Sometimes they ask you to spend more money, and it's on them, it's not on you. But I just think not to walk away here defensive and feeling, here they go again. It's a wish to be involved in this process without having to attend every meeting. And when you have a worn ballot, these questions, these numbers are already decided. So to say that those voters don't get that input, well, we didn't get that input either, it's here. And we're gonna go and vote on Tuesday, pretty well informed, I'm pleasantly surprised the number here. But we can take a number of things that have happened in this state, including our sheriff department issue. I can't tell you how many people, before they went to vote, asked me who was running and what was going. Talk about an uninformed vote. They had no idea what was going on, and they voted somebody in who was going through a huge legal battle. And there were people that just did not even know. So there's a ramification of an uninformed vote. And I think, other than the people here, and maybe the few people that called your office with a specific question, they're just going and they're just checking boxes. And I guess that's a form of being involved in democracy, but I feel like it's a very surface involvement. And I welcome the opportunity to dive deep. And I'm proud of the work you guys have done. And I think not to be afraid of having those conversations. They're your neighbors.
David?
One more small question. In regards to interest, like on ARPA funds and such, are they included on the general fund revenue?
That isn't included because I didn't get those until later after the auditor's authority. But it will show.
Yeah, I could not hear the question.
He wanted to know if interest accrued from the ARPA funds that was in the money market was going in there, and it's not because of the lateness of getting the statements from the.
Could you repeat what
And just be clear too, the ARPA funds he's talking about, it's for the town highway side of the voters' discussion. That's something we should be talking about after.
Which would be?
We're on the general fund.
The second part.
But that income goes back on the general fund, so it could be used.
No, it doesn't go on the general fund, it goes in the.
Not the ARPA.
Okay. Thank you.
One more little thing. I think Cheryl said something about Front Porch Forum. Can someone say out loud what is a legal warning of a Monday night meeting? Is it the post office and where? I can't give up to Monday nights. How would I know where to show up here because there was something to talk about on a Monday night that I wanted to hear about? I don't go to the post office. I wonder if there's a discussion to be had here about, in the year 2025, how do we legally warn a meeting and how do people know that there might be something coming up on a Monday night that they would want to come to?
It's on the website.
Okay, so on what?
And we also have filming.
Yeah,
You wanna
but that
watch it.
won't, I can't comment to you. I would only watch the film and see what everybody else said. I wouldn't have.
We're open, you can come with comments afterwards. We're not like a closed door policy.
So all meetings, all hearings, meetings, everything is on the Town of Enosburgh website and the Village of Enosburgh website.
The village posts to the village and we post to our own.
Okay, so, yeah, so there's two different places you could look. If you're looking for any kind of meeting or hearing. They're always there. They're at the post office, so not just the post office. Okay.
It's there. We don't post at the post office for a regular scheduled meeting. We have a bulletin board in my office and at the library and I think at one of the banks. We say that the meetings are the first and third Mondays of each month.
I think it says it in here.
At 6 o'clock.
If you keep this.
Right.
It also says it in there, correct?
But it's not that hard. There's wording around the public meeting. You gotta post in 4 places, I believe.
3 places.
3 places.
3 places, but.
Because of our size.
And one other comment I'd like to make too, this kind of goes back to David's point. He's been trying to get us to get a sign down here at Armory. That would be the thing right there. You know, they're doing Highgate and stuff, people driving by. This is being held at this time that day, so. We're working on it, Dave.
We are.
When do you post this? It's Monday.
Usually Thursday or Friday.
So Friday, you might go there Friday to see what's on Monday.
There's nothing this Monday, there's nothing this Monday because of this meeting.
No, I know, in general.
Oh, yes.
Steve?
Yes, the next 2 are already posted on the website. One for March 17th and one for April 7th.
Right, and those agendas are already on your website.
My name is Steve Bowl. I live on Longley Bridge Road. Last year, for town meeting day, I hadn't heard about anything, and I went on the town website to see what was going on, and there was nothing listed for Tuesday town meeting day. Absolutely nothing. There wasn't a notice about voting here by Australian ballot. There wasn't a notice that we weren't having a town meeting, or we were having a town meeting. So, yeah, I agree that communication could improve. Thank you. I left that off my list.
Is it, so is it on our?
It's on Front Porch Forum. It was put on
I know
Front Porch Forum.
this meeting
It's on the
was.
website and Facebook,
Yeah, is it?
and links,
And link?
and link to it.
Link to it, okay, to our website. And is the website state voting on Tuesday?
It has the
Here
whole
and there
It
word.
has the whole
Yep.
warning, it has the whole everything.
Okay.
And that, Steve, that was discussed last year, about last year, that wasn't put on, and that's why, and I will apologize, this year, the way I worded when I put it on Front Porch Facebook, about some of the confusion about picking up the books. Again, it's a flurry of, and I will take full responsibility for it, it's a flurry of trying to get the information out there. The really kind of crappy part about the way things are now, to go back to what you guys said, Cheryl and Ward, we don't have a newspaper anymore either, where you used to be able to throw that stuff. The Messenger now is, I don't know if you guys know, it's only one day a week now. It's only on Fridays. So it's not, it used to be Tuesdays and Fridays. Of course, you had the Courier, you had the Messenger, which was every day. And you've lost some of that now. And the challenge, like especially with Facebook, if there's an algorithm there where I can put something on, and my own wife won't even see what I put on for the town. She's like, wait, what are you talking? And I'm like, I put it on there. And then there's other times where I put it on there and it's like, everybody sees it. So that's the challenge with the Facebook. Front Porch Forum, we know. We put that on, boom, it goes out to everybody. But the Facebook algorithm is an odd, I mean, we were trying to hire a plow truck driver, and we had to sponsor and put some money on it in order for the world to see it, and it's a weird thing. So that's, going forward, we're going to try to utilize, those avenues best we can without that newspaper, so.
Well, I don't know, this is off the wall. I mean, I think there's enough feeling that we would like to get back our old-fashioned town meeting. Would one of you let us know what the steps would be and how many signatures we need to get, or something like that? Would you?
Yeah.
So I can talk to you about that later.
Yes, you can.
All right. David Jarvis?
I'm Dave Jarvis. I'm a village resident. I lived in West Springfield, Massachusetts for a number of years. I would say about 7, 8 years ago, we got a new mayor in the town. It's a town, but it's about 35,000 people now. And he was not happy with the communications there. West Springfield now has a way of communicating with every person in town. If they have an email or a text, most everybody has a cell phone now and has an email address. And they send out blast messages and information to every resident, anybody that has signed up for it. And that means everybody gets it and can be done at any time. He can do it day or night. If there's an emergency in town, they will do that. And they have also set up a means of calling, so that if there's an emergency in town, or there's a weather emergency, anything of that nature, then the mayor will get on, and there'll be a message to everybody within minutes that something is going on. And I'd like to see both the village and the town take a look at that, see if it's cost effective and if it would be feasible here, being a much smaller,
I have actually been looking into that, Dave. It's called Text My Gov. And it is a little pricey. I haven't talked to the board yet because I just talked to some salesmen like a couple months ago. But like you said, everybody has a cell phone. And if we had anything important to say or notification of a meeting or anything like that, it sends a text to everybody.
yep. And the mayor will also get on Facebook. I know
Yeah.
Larry probably doesn't want to do that. They changed chairman, that they would probably, he could go on and give a
Dean's the
message.
chairman now. Dean's gonna have to be on
Yeah,
Facebook.
Yeah, the book's wrong. Dean's the chair.
So they could do that as well. Thank you.
My shoulders are lighter.
Mine is.
VT alerts.
Yeah, BT Alerts is set up for the entire state. Yeah. And you can utilize it. I know places like Heinsberg, Richmond, they use it for water issues that arise in the village. It's already an existing system and you
But-
can.
So that would be more of an emergency
It
thing?
can be, but it can be also just a notification system. But yeah, it's more of an emergency.
Is that just for lack of not knowing that that existed to towns? We thought it was more for
It's
the
for
state
towns.
purposes.
Yep.
But just lack of us not knowing that.
Yep, yep. And you wouldn't have, I don't know what the expense is to be as a part of that, but I'm sure it would be significantly less.
David?
One more quick question. David, try one. Getting back to the interest thing, is there any reason why that interest can't go to the general fund?
Yep, because that money is the highway money.
The village had their ARPAs, and there's 2 sets of ARPA funds that came. So the village,
I never understood that.
it's, yeah, it really messed things
It
up.
is
It shouldn't have been like that, but we had no way of handling it.
There is a way about that money.
There really isn't, Dave. I mean, we have to keep highway money separate because they're their own district. It would be like us trying to take village money. They're their own people. Like, it has to stay separate.
Just trying to find money.
I'm gonna tell Joey you're trying to take his money.
Yeah, actually, the only reason that hadn't been spent up, that's on the highway side of it, this discussion, is because it was also part of the salt shed. We thought we were gonna have to use some of that, and then, of course, all the wheels fell off on that, so now we're using for different.
Thank you.
So without going into legal stuff, where are you at with the salt shed? I mean, is it, you've got your half-built salt shed in, something's gonna happen with that, you can pull it out and.
We can't physically. Let Dean answer.
It's only some of the wooden walls. It's not, I don't believe it's all of them.
It's a lot of.
It's a lot of walls. There's 15 walls and enough to make another, I don't know how many more, so.
Yeah, so.
I mean, you're talking about getting it out of the building, then what? Bonfire?
No, this is good lumber.
Yeah,
It's just needs to be undercover at this point, and then we can't physically sell it or use it or anything until this litigation
Until it's
gets
settled.
done.
Right.
So once litigation is done, hopefully after that, we will be out of our obligation to hold on to it because it was federal funds. And then the board can look at either using it for a project that we might have here with the town or selling it.
If anybody's building something, we may have some walls for them.
Where is this salt shed? Is this an imaginary?
No.
It is now. Well, it is now. It's gone.
Oh, it's gone.
There is no salt shed. It never happened.
Oh, it was going to happen.
It was going to happen.
It was happening.
It was.
Okay.
Somebody brought suit.
And what did they bring suit about? Not to have it?
There was a lot of different things happening in there.
Many.
Materials,
The engineering, everything was wrong.
Okay.
Everything that could, did.
it was just a nightmare.
Okay, well, good luck to you. I mean, you have special board meetings about that?
Yeah, that was a lot of, of course, we had the state V-Trans in there too, and Bethany Regional.
Are they helping you get through?
Oh, for sure, yeah,
And to follow up on the salt shed, it has not been readdressed to do anything more for construction of a salt shed at this point.
Yeah. Yes, Ward?
I'll stand up. First, I am happy to see an interest in getting a real town meeting going, and I'm willing to take some organizational leadership. So I'm putting a piece of paper here. If you want to be involved in the conversation about that, I'll organize it, and give me phone number and email. Not Facebook, because I don't use it.
I'm with you there.
What? So that's the first thing, and if there's anybody who would, I'd like 1 or 2 people to go along with me and Billy Joe, we'd come in and you'd get some guidance on what we have to do to
Absolutely.
get stuff on the ballot next year. Okay, so come up to me while we're eating and tell me whether you'd like to help me at that stage. I'll set it here.
And we're open to whatever everybody wants, but we're just going by what voters voted for last year. There's,
I wanted to second what Susie said.
yeah, no, and that's,
About you guys.
that's great. But we're just, so last year, when it was voted on by Australian ballot, there's 340 people that voted, 230 yes and 111 no's. So it's not like it was a landslide, but it was.
The no meant no meeting, did it actually, because
No, it's-
some people.
No, meant for meeting,
For having it,
because the question was
No meant they wanted a
Australian.
meeting.
yes, yeah,
And yes meant,
Australian
They just wanted
ballot,
to run about.
yeah.
there's sort of a double negative in there though. And you said some people didn't realize it. Heather was telling me that she thought some people, when they read it, didn't know the no or the yes. I don't know the wording, I have to look
Right,
at it again.
but and that also gives a lot more people a chance to vote on things. I know it's not the town meeting in the community way.
Democracy, it's not.
Yeah, well,
No, it's a democracy of a Australian
it's,
ballot.
yeah, so. I get it, it'd be nice to be able to have it both, a little bit of both ways, but,
Yeah.
We
so.
did have some Australian ballot before.
Well, we used to,
have had-
when we had town
we have-
meeting, we also had an Australian ballot. We voted for the officers and the other things. And you could probably still even have some things that is on the Australian ballot and that would be what you guys wanted. So a combination of the two. I don't know how you do both. But you need to have that town meeting, I think.
Petition time.
Ellen?
Yes. Ellen?
This is far down the road, but what are you guys, will there be costs incurred, A, to move the humans into the armory, and B, of what you plan to do with that building when it is empty of you?
There's limitations on what can happen with that building because of the wording. It was
And there's stipulations. doesn't it?
stipulations with it. We need to look into that, but it would, the thoughts we've had and up here, Larry's been very in favor of this, is it'd be nice to open the library up to make the library more visible.
So basically tearing it down.
Yeah, but that costs money, I mean,
Maybe, maybe not, if you get the right people.
okay. Yeah.
There's important things in there, and I was just saying,
Yeah.
but yeah, we can't get to that point till we get.
But we're not able,
Okay,
we're not able
okay,
to
so that's
sell it.
not in this budget, there's not the money of whatever that would be, because you still haven't moved to the, okay.
Right.
Yeah, you got a line item for.
No,
for-
Lori
for-
Stanley has suggested that we use
Town
Grunsford
repairs.
junk. I don't even know if they're still a business, but that's what she had suggested that we use when we're ready.
Okay. The someone say the vault already moved?
The vault, we had to
Yeah.
that was a big endeavor, but we had to make a new vault, and it's done.
There, not
At
in
the
the,
Armory.
not in the.
At the Armory.
In the, okay.
We actually have 2 at the Armory now.
Yeah,
Okay.
There's an original vault with the armory, but it was not up to standards.
Okay.
It could only hold ammunition, not good enough for books.
I would thank Jesse for all the hours that he put into getting that done, because it was not an easy task. A lot of different contractors involved in that.
So is there stuff to go through? No.
No.
I mean, this is information.
This is
meeting.
informational. We have no specific agenda this evening.
There was not? There was not a specific
No,
agenda?
we're not doing line by line.
Then that would be what happened at the town
Correct.
meetings that we all
Correct.
missed. Okay.
But if you look at your book, if you have it or whatnot, and you just see some numbers that are stick out to you, you can just ask questions about it, and we can answer it best as our ability. I mean, like town salaries, we all know what this world is coming with the salaries lately, so that's been escalating quite a bit the last few years.
I wondered where the library salaries were.
It's in there.
Is it under?
It's in the town salaries, so the town salaries pays my office, which is Jesse, me, and my assistant.
Okay.
And it pays all of the librarians, pays these guys' salary.
And is that, what page?
It's under the general fund on the expenses.
So about the 6th page and 5th page.
We had to do it with the library so they could get benefits.
Right, so we do pay them
General
along with
fund.
us.
No, we don't have a number.
The health officers also paid under that.
We got a good investment there.
Yeah.
There it is, town salaries. Okay.
Maybe we should ambulance, ask him to talk about it.
Would you like? Go ahead.
We'd like, maybe, could we have Garrett just give you guys all a quick overview of the ambulance service, so you all get to see.
What's been going on here?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So my name's Garrett Wolski. I'm the director of Enosburgh Ambulance Service. I've been here since 2023, so we're going into my 2nd year here operating the ambulance service. What I will tell you, the service is doing well. A big portion of that is the commitment that's been put into this from both the community, the select board, and then the providers that we have here as well. Our volume is increasing each year, which I incorporated in my annual report. Last year, we ended at 1,411, which is a number that this service has never done before. So each year, we're increasing the number of calls that we're doing, and with that, we're increasing our staffing to make sure that we're fielding those calls. With that, we've increased our staffing, so we're now operating 2 ambulances. We have 2 operating 7 days a week now, and we also invested in a 3rd ambulance to make sure that we're always available. We've been supporting our mutual aid partners, outside services like Richford, Missisquoi, and Amcare whenever they need our help. We're there to support them as well, and vice versa, they support us as well. With our budget, we did have some increases, one being the workers' comp increase due to the increased salary, because we do have more personnel on staff now. But with that, we have ALS coverage 24/7. We have 8 paramedics and 16 ALS providers that work for us. And advanced life support. So essentially an AEMT or above, AEMT or paramedic. And that's they can basically just do a little bit more of a skill set than basic level providers. We're very active in community events as well. We participated in 16 community events last year throughout all our towns that we cover. And that's a big thing that this service really hosts. You don't see a lot of services do that nowadays. It's kind of a thing that's not happening anymore, and that's something that we've really committed to, is making sure that we're part of the community. Our doors are open. If anybody ever wants to stop in and meet the crews, they're very welcoming. We have students and kids that come by and check out the ambulances to get some familiarity. We're also at the June Dairy Days as well. So anytime you guys want to stop in, by all means, our crews are happy to meet you. We do have the annual subscriptions that people do participate in very well as well. I do highly recommend that. Not a lot of services do offer that in the state of Vermont. So it's a great opportunity for those that live in our coverage area. And then 911 signs, that's my other big pitch. There are a lot of homes. Most people are very good about them, but for our crews at 2 o'clock in the morning, being able to see the signs where they need to be going is a big thing. We do offer 911 signs that can go on your mailbox. That's part of the town letter as well. And we set those up here if anybody's ever interested. We can set them up for you, or we can mail them to you. But I do know that's one thing that our crews have really participated in, is making sure everything's visible for us so we can get to you in a timely manner. But if anybody has any questions for me regarding the service or the budget, I'm happy to answer. And we just thank you guys' support and the select board support. It's been a big part for us.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
You've done a great job.
Any questions?
Well, I'm confused, because at one point, there was, people didn't know what was going to happen. Was that like 3 years ago or so?
This is kind of like the discussion Dean talked about with the sheriffs. We were able to get really quality people, able to take them basically from another service
So it went
to build
into-
this.
And actually, we used to always have it, and then there was worry about how are we going to carry it through, so it's, okay. So it was like, and you were hired, you were obviously
Yes.
one of the
2023, yep.
23, okay.
He is the key.
Yep. It's not just me. Yep. Yeah. And if anybody ever, my door's always open. I'm here. Well, I'm going on a 2-week leave. My wife is having a baby here very soon. But aside from that, my door is open all the time. So if anybody wants to stop in and see me, I'm more than happy to meet with you.
Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you very much.
On the general fund, your town buildings repair and appropriations is a merged block. Then you've got 2 lines that are separated. What is the difference there? And what is
Town buildings.
Town building repair.
Oh, it's not, it's just the line disappeared and the copier. Town buildings repair is one, appropriations is a separate one.
So what's the appropriations?
Appropriations are Cat Crusaders, the
Okay, the ones that are being voted on.
food shelf, yes.
And then my second question is, where are we at with dealing with unsightly properties that are garbage and whatnot built up in the village, in the town? Who has jurisdiction? What are we doing? It's the thing I keep asking, how do we address it? I'm sure the people living next to those properties are thinking, this is great for my property value. So where are you at with that?
Yep, so, as you know, still the bylaws, we've been having some challenge getting some quorum, so we're close to the bylaw update and updating that and going that judicial bureau road. Another avenue that we're exploring right now, Tim Smith came to a meeting a month ago, I think it was, and St. Albans has adopted a new ordinance, I don't even know what you call it.
Around disruptions?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, and so,
Around what? Disruptions.
yeah, disruptions, it's general, unsightliness of garbage. They deal, Tim sent me over the ordinance, it's a lot of fire issues, disabling fire alarms, that kind of stuff. But in that, kind of embedded in that, is the unsightly kind of situation. The attractiveness of what St. Albans is doing is you can kind of divulge the Judicial Bureau portion of it, they're actually managing in-house through their own board the finding process. We
We don't
just.
have one though, do we?
No, we don't, but this has all just been in the last month that the board talked with Tim. I had a discussion with Tim, and we were just, with all of this, that we haven't explored more. The nice part about having, if you could have a board of, and I forget what they call it, I apologize, I can't think of what they call it, but if you can have that board go in there and address some of these issues, okay, you're not picking up, you've got garbage, you've got cars, you've got whatever have you, then that, that fine can come from that rather than coming from the Judicial Bureau. And those of you who aren't familiar with the Judicial Bureau, that's the traffic ticket court. They just changed the name of it to now the Judicial Bureau. The challenge with the Judicial Bureau and going to these repeat offenders is if your T's aren't crossed, your I's aren't dotted, if something isn't correct, it's thrown out and you lose that. Whereas if you could do something in-house, I think you would
Now,
see something quicker.
Is your position oversee the town and the village, or is the village doing their own thing? Because I thought they had come up with something, and you've been in talking with John, so.
Right, the problem, and again, and I'm not speaking for what the village has done, we had a discussion. The ordinance needs to reflect what that process is for the village. And I don't know, Heather, you may be able to answer more. I know there's a junk and a garbage ordinance for the village. That ordinance wasn't reflective of what they were going to do with the Judicial Bureau, so I don't know how much that really sticks. Again, I don't know if that discussion.
I've been asking this for a long time, and not to pick names, but when Ange was there, she was doing some of that stuff, and I know your concern was that it gets to a certain point that then it would get thrown out, but I think just even the earlier efforts made some movement on those tenants and those landlords, and it's very frustrating to see some of them just nothing, and it's egregious. And
I said if you send 10 letters, maybe half of them will stick. Maybe if you send them, and I do. I mean, we had a situation. I mean, one of the guys, he wanted the neighbor had called me up, and he was, about this situation across the road. The guy wanted to pound me. He wanted to beat me up because I had sent a nastygram to him about picking up. He had mattresses, and again, that comes with the territory. It is what it is, but that one there particularly landed, and it was fine, and he didn't really pick everything up. He threw it in the garage and shut the garage door. Trying to lean on the state as well, the Environmental Enforcement Division. The challenge with those folks is they're very nice. I have a great relationship with Dave and Murish. But the problem with Dave is one man's trash is another man's treasure. I've said this a million times where there's a situation of a resident in the town that we all know that and they've gone up there, they've inspected, they've done, and he has a use for the particular item that he has all over his lawn. So literally the argument, and so that's the challenge, and that's why when Tim was explaining to us a month ago, it was like, okay, if you can do this in-house and you're doing these things in-house and you can control that and you have the ability to fine, rather than trying to lean on another agency who's just going to pass the buck or tell you didn't do something, that was, because something's got to stick. That's, to make them do it.
so this Judicial Bureau would potentially be the answer?
So that's, like I said, it used to be called traffic ticketing, whatever. That's where if you got a fine, a speeding fine, it would go through that office. Now they're taking all those, traffic, some, like I said, some zoning municipalities are going through there. Some are having success with it. Again, it's just, it's a time thing to get, to make sure, someone's got to go, to the court to make sure that, you get it. You got to have your ordinances in place. We don't have the town doesn't have a junk ordinance, just the village has one. So again, that ordinance has to reflect, okay, this is what we're going to do. You're going to send a letter, okay, after the letter, so many days, then the ticket comes through. And the nice part about the Judicial Bureau is every day is a violation. every single day.
And does that become a lien on, like, on the property, on title?
If they don't pay, yeah, if they don't pay the judicial bureau, then you can go back on lien on their, title.
It is very concerning to just be, you or me going out, hey, you got 7 days to clean this up. People now are different even than they were in 2014 when I was doing this.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there's people who don't have much to lose, and they're all right with behaving however. And, at some point, you're like, all right, I'm not gonna put myself in harm's way.
Yeah.
And so you have to, and so this is where the police force also will come into effect and be, and you may have to work in collaboration with them at some point to get these things done, because it is messy in various places, like Susie's saying, and it's frustrating, and we have properties like that. And it is frustrating and concerning, and I hope that there's a collaboration between the police force that we'll hopefully have, telling the same story that this young man was just telling about the advances that have been made in a year or two's time with the police force, much like the ambulance service, if that makes sense. I get it, it's very concerning.
Yeah, one of the other options that kind of we talked a little bit with the board here was going down the road of, what's the name of, like a person that, the police, not a police person. No, somebody that. Constable, sorry. I can't think, sorry. A constable, that Fairfax just employed a constable. The problem with and I say constable not on the policing of pulling people over, ticketing, but a constable on the side of, like you just said, of the enforcement of these, trash tickets, those kind of things. Fairfax actually just hired an individual there to do a lot of that stuff, and actually goes hand in hand with some of the dog ordinances in that realm of the world too. The problem with a constable is they have to be trained, they have to have a police background. They have to have, the individual they have in Fairfax, he has a police background and he has a military background. So they really kind of hit the nail on the head with that one, but they have, your zoning guy works in tandem with them, and then all of a sudden they go, hey, listen, you got to go out to here, you have that backing there of somebody who knows a hot situation from a,
Is the health officer in working in part with you on any of these things, where there are messes and so forth? I know we have a stipend for that individual now too, is that?
She's only able really to do with commercial buildings, like, and rentals and things. She can't do an individual's home. Well, we were conferring the other day about a situation, and she got her book out, and it is basically the only, she can only do an inspection, I should say, like.
You mean like in multi-family
Multifamily. She can do one of those as a rental inspection person.
Not a private residence.
But she can't go into a private residence, no. There's nothing, I mean, legally, she can't say, I want to inspect your home.
I see.
So this is the health thing.
yeah.
Further questions of the select board?
If there's none, I'd like to thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it. Before we go, we'd like to thank Phil for being on our board. He's been a great asset for our board. He's brought a great insight to many things.
Volunteered countless
to the
hours.
boards, and
Helped Dave up a lot.
He's one of the ones that volunteers to help when an extra hand is needed. We really are going to miss
you.
We're going to miss him.
We're going to miss you guys too.
Hey, good job, Phil.
Thank you, thank you.
And we appreciate all your input on the different ideas and everything, and it's great to see the turnout. It's always, tell your neighbors, we always want more. Hopefully, if we can send postcards or something to get more people and get better communications, we'll keep working on that.
I think just using Saturday, for instance, tonight, this is more than what I expected to see, because normally 6, 7.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great positive.
Yeah.
Looking forward, maybe 3 o'clock or something, I don't know. If you guys say what time is best, it's on a Saturday or weekend, we'll take that in. I don't want to step on Dean's toes, sorry.
Yeah.
You actually proposed a Saturday at 6, didn't you? So wasn't that one of your proposals?
Well, Saturday was one of my dates.
Yeah.
Available. Yeah.
And there's food in the back. Everybody help themselves. There's.
Thank you.